Imagine you're sitting at a restaurant. You order club sandwich to the waiter, who in fact goes to the kitchen, tells the cook that you have arrived with an order for club sandwich. The cook then prepares it and serves it to you. You probably will be having an imagination that this kind of a scenario has happened with me, but now what I intend to teach to you is the same scenario when it comes to mobile app. The thing of placing an order is actually making a request. Well, the thing where you're trying to put the order to the waiter, you're putting up a request, please get me a club sandwich. Later on, as the club sandwich is being prepared, it comes to him from the kitchen, prepared by the cook, and arrives to you at your table. You can enjoy the food in same way. When your app gets the data from the server, you can enjoy displaying it on the user's front. Well, we're going to discuss this entire module for request from the app and response from the server in lot more details in the video. Stay tuned and keep learning with Hoping Minds. Now let us dive into the session wherein in the last time we got these products and we got to see that the status code gave us 200 if the URL was correct. However, it cannot be guaranteed that you will be having a good internet connection each and every time. Hence, we should be preparing ourselves to have something like a try followed by a catch, in which the catch will let us know what went wrong into our implementation. Now, look over here. I already have this exception, which will kind of say exception and stack trace. Well, what's a stack trace? The stack trace will help us line by line to identify what went wrong. Now, I'll pick this, and this time I'll put this inside of a try. Now, let's go into the scenario and deliberately again change the URL. Now, when I do a hot restart and click upon the button, we know we'll be getting 404. But let's try and see if we land into the exception or we just do not get any kind of an error. So here's my app. I'm going to click test button and it says 404 only. However, if I just change the domain and I'll try Peakstore API 123.com and then try to run my code. Now I'll click on test button and you'll notice that over here it says the exception which has occurred, and in fact it also gives line by line description of where and exactly what went wrong. This kind of will be helpful as I have now an idea when we are going to go into an error, and that's exactly where I'm going to put future.error, in which I'll mention something went wrong, and in fact I'll take this entire message and I'll put it over here. Let me just remove this as well as the closing double quotes. Now, hopefully you would have understood the error handling part. Now, let's say if the response dot status code is equals to 200. In the last session, we were discussing about something on to.json and from.json. Well, let me dig deep into this product model wherein we have this from.json and to.json. Well, when it comes to the data from the server, we will be using from.json and converting it to a product model. exactly how do we do this? So here I am on my product repository. When I just try and show you the entire data that's over here, you'll notice this data is just a list of products. Check over here, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and goes up to 19. So this is a list of 20 products. What I'm going to do is create something as a list of dynamic product list from server, and then over here I'll put this response.body, and this time I'm going to use JSON decode and then show to you how we will convert this list of products. Wait, in fact, initially what I'll try and do is this JSON decode. Let me use my logger and show it to you how the JSON decode is actually going to convert this JSON data and give it to me in the form of a list. So here I am over here trying to use this JSON decode on the response that we have received from our server. Now in this case, I would not tamper the URL and in fact make it genuine one and then try to see whether we are able to retrieve the product JSON or not. So here we are on the test button. I'm going to click on it. What you notice is, yes, we are able to see the JSON to be getting retrieved. In fact, it exactly has the same order in which you would be seeing over here, like ID number 1 followed by ID number 2, and that's exactly over here, ID number 1 followed by the ID number 2. Now, since we have already understood that JSON decode is giving me the list of products, let's try now taking this thing up, putting this thing into the list of dynamic, and now I'm going to create individual product JSON in product list from server. So here, like I was saying, when it came to my product model, there was two JSON which we will be using when we are sending the data to a server. However, in this particular case, we are having our product model and we are going to use from JSON. Well, in this case, whatever JSON we have received from the server will now be converted into our product model and shown to us. Upon hot restart, you shall be understanding in very much details. Well, what I'm also going to try and do is write down the toString implementation. I'm going to do right click, that gives me this bunch of options. Click on generate, click on this toString, and in fact print all of the things. Well, why is exactly this thing what I'm trying to do is, now when I do a hot reload and then try to print the product model, you'll see it in a neatly formatted way to get displayed on the console window. Let's try it out. So here I am on my test button and I'll tap on it. So it says, look over here, something went wrong, exception type int. Well, something went wrong and it says unhandled exception, exception type int is not a subtype of double. Well, what exactly is this? Let me click on this particular line. Do you notice over here we have price? I'll check. This is double price. However, over here it has got 0.95. So what I'm going to try and do is change this to a numeric. Well, what exactly is the difference? Perhaps numeric is responsible for converting this integer and not having in the format wherein, like over here, this price variable, which kind of would be having any kind of a decimals, will now get accepted. Even it is not 2 digits, let it be 5 or let it be 10, it will still be accepted by the numeric data type. Now let's try doing a hot restart and seeing whether this thing would work or not. Now what do I notice? Well, I still have got an error. It says the exception type int is not a subtype of double, but this time not in my product model. In fact, it is showing up on the ratings model. What I wanted to show to you is the benefit of this stack trace. Do you notice it even points out which exactly is the variable that causes the trouble. So let me put over here num, and now with this trial and error, I think I should now be able to show you the entire list from the entire JSON to get converted into our format, which is Dart, hence called as JSON to Dart. On click, this time it shows over here the entire code for my product model, but you would notice for the rating it shows instance of rating model. Well, I kind of made a mistake of not doing the toString for my rating model. Let me do it in a jiffy. I'll click on generate constructor, select both the variables and press enter. My mistake, I had to take generate toString, select the two variables and click on OK. Well, it says hot restart was successful, and then I'll click on test button. Now what do I understand is I'm ready with the product model with the conversion, wherein I'm using from JSON and converting it to a Dart model. What I'm going to next do is, instead of having this as a void, I'll put this as a list of product model, and in fact this entire list for product model we will be creating over here. If you have been following the videos diligently, on module 3 we introduced to you on page views, and over there I kind of made a promise that we'll be going to the server to picking up the data and then displaying it. Even at that module I created one product data model, but at that point in time you guys were relatively new, and hence I decided at that point in time to have a hard-coded data. Well, today we are all dealing with server data which would never change, and hence this from JSON and to JSON comes into the picture. Well, even in that function I had this return statement, wherein once we have the entire data, I'll put return, and in future.value I shall be returning the list of products that we had received. Now what I'm going to show to you is this function which we were calling over here. Let me put async. Now on trial basis I'm going to now use my logger in my product listing screen and then check whether I'm able to get all the list of products on the view. So look over here from the view model, that is my data collection point. I will be at my view to show the data. So here is the list of product model and I'll put product list. Now the reason it shows as an error is I have to use the await keyword. Well, why await? That's because when we go and see our data, the app is going to collect the data from the server and the server will take some decent time, let's say 100 milliseconds, to give the response back. For 100 milliseconds, I have to wait, and that's exactly what I have been trying doing over here. I'm going to wait until I receive all the data, and next I'll comment this piece of code, go on to my listing screen and create a loop using my product model, current product in the product list, and this time using my logger I should be printing current product in screen and I'll print the current product variable. Again, what we are trying to achieve over here is purely testing things, and this will kind of get removed, not entirely, but most part in the next class. So here we are doing a hot reload. I'm going to click on test button. If everything goes well, we should be seeing current product in screen and this should be going from 1 to 20. So here we are 1, 2, and I'll keep scrolling down to see the product item to be 20, which basically means my entire API handling part along with the product data is working really well. Hopefully the entire demonstration wherein now you have a clear understanding for request and response went well. Perhaps the status code which you have seen, it's going to be very much be useful when you're trying to display the data. Wait, am I talking about displaying data? It should have a bit amount of loading, correct? As we have seen in the video, your data is being retrieved from the server and it can have some kind of implications like your network being slow or you probably walking underneath a subway while you're using your phone with the app. How to handle these all animations and in fact how to create a UI widget we're going to discuss in more details in the next session. So stay tuned and keep learning with Hoping Minds.